was my best friend. He was an awesome daddy. He never missed a ball game, Desmond. So when he passed, I wanted to wear his shoes, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I was not his size, Jasmine. I was not cut out for this crime.
Yeah, that lifestyle.
Yeah, so it was not for me. So
Yeah.
immediately, I found myself in a world of trouble.
Oh, I can imagine.
Oh, it was awful. This man, instead of paying me a gambling debt, decided it was a good idea to attempt to assassinate me by shooting me in the back of the head.
Kind of refuge, something to run to, someone who loves you. I'll be the light guiding you through the night when the stars just refuse to shine. And I'll be your shelter, that safe place to hide, your sanctuary.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Everyone is Addicted. Today's guest, John, has graciously come on to share his experience and his knowledge on addiction. So welcome, John, and take it away and tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Again, my name is John. I had a very unusual upbringing. My father was in organized crime, so I grew up in a house full of crime, but a very loving house. So my father was my best friend. He was an awesome daddy. He never missed a ball game, Desmond. So when he passed, I wanted to wear his shoes, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I was not his size, Jasmine. I was not cut out for this crime.
Yeah, that lifestyle.
Yeah, so it was not for me. So immediately, I found myself in a world of trouble.
Oh, I can imagine.
Oh, it was awful. This man, instead of paying me a gambling debt, decided it was a good idea to attempt to assassinate me by shooting me in the back of the head. And that's when it all started, Jasmine. That's when my life took a downfall, obviously. It was awful.
We do need our time to have that depression and have that time to think about, which way do I need to go, how to, you know what I mean? It's kind of like life flashes before your eyes and you're starting to realize, you know what, this isn't what I want. And you go into a depression, but within that depression, you kind of find yourself. At least I have.
Well, Jasmine, being shot in the head was easy part of my story as it spiraled out of control with drug addictions, alcohol addictions, gambling addictions, food addictions. I had them all, Jasmine. And this changed my life, Jasmine. So I did 90 days in a coma. I did almost a year in the hospital, Jasmine. My life was awful. So when I got out of the hospital, I was released. This is when depression really set in, Jasmine.
Mm-hmm.
It was awful. I was alone, and I always felt alone. Always felt alone, Jasmine. I was in my apartment alone, and I started drinking. And before I knew it, I added cocaine into the mixture, and I was off of mine, Jasmine. Now I'm in a wheelchair, Jasmine, and I've become a drug dealer because I can't support my habit. So now I'm in a wheelchair. I'm up to 300 pounds, and I'm selling drugs. I had Jasmine.
Well, I have a friend that sells drugs and he's in a wheelchair. And in the wintertime, his wife, you would see her pushing him down the street to the person's house that he was going to do a drop at.
Oh, it
So
was awful.
I've seen it and it doesn't look fun at all. So I can only
Oh,
imagine.
awful. So, Jasmine, now this is when my life changes that I didn't know it yet, but it was changing for the better. I was in my apartment, and all of a sudden, boom, the door comes crashing in, Jasmine. 12 cops come barreling through my door. They found drugs, money, and they arrest me. They take me to jail, Jasmine. But I was able to bail out. So I bailed out of jail. Now I'm sitting in the parking lot in my wheelchair of the police department, weighing 300 pounds, thinking my life was over. Jasmine, I had nowhere to go. I had no drugs. I had no money. I felt alone. I just wanted this to be over, Jasmine. So my brother-in-law says to me, he's with me, he picked me up in jail. He says, you need to go to a detox. And I didn't know what it was. I had no clue. But Jasmine, at this point in my life, I didn't have many options. So I went. To detox. And while in detox, I had to be interviewed for a halfway house. I want to continue with my sobriety.
Yeah.
So I go to this halfway house in Boston, Mass. And I roll into the office and I'm waiting for the executive director, Jasmine. She comes walking in the door, wobbling, so I knew there was something wrong. And she proceeded to tell me her life story, how she was addicted to cocaine and had an aneurysm due to cocaine. And she was in a wheelchair for years, Jasmine. I was astonished. This was the first time in my life, Jasmine, that I seen somebody get over the hurdle.
Yeah.
I've probably seen it earlier in my life, but I was addicted to drugs. I just didn't comprehend things.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I see it. I'm saying to myself, I cannot believe she got out of this wheelchair. Jasmine, it was prison, this wheelchair. It was awful. I couldn't believe she did it. And Jasmine, she took me under her wing, and I listened to every single word she said. She was like God to me.
I would be the same way. Like, teach me.
Unbelievable. So now I still have this court over my head, but I'm clearing up. So my head's all getting together. So I'm really not fearing it too much. I don't feel alone no more, Jasmine.
Yeah, that's the most important part.
I have Deb and I have a network of people helping me. I'm not alone. So I faced it. Deb took me to prison. I remember this judge, he was about 90 years old. I roll up in front of my wheelchair, thinking he's going to give me mercy, Jasmine. Thinking there's no way. He looks down at me and says, Mr. Carter, he says, we don't discriminate in this court. You're going to get the same sentence any drug dealer gets coming through my door. Jasmine gave me 10 years. First offense, I was like,
yeah, most people get 5 years for their first offense for drug dealing and stuff like. Well, from people in my life, anyways. I'm in Canada. I don't know about what the Americans are like, but usually it's 5 years for the first offense for drug dealing and stuff like that.
So the judge hands me 10-year sentence, but he was nice enough to give me a stay of execution for a week, meaning I just show up in prison in a week. So I go home with Dad. And I remember her pulling over, and she looked me right in the eyes. She said, John, most people would run right now. Face your fear. You'll get through this. You're not alone. We'll be here with you. Jasmine, I went to jail. I faced it. I went to prison. I said, I'm listening to every word she says. She took me to prison. I remember I rolled in and that big metal door slammed behind me. Jasmine, I was in a cell no bigger than your bathroom. And I said, I couldn't even turn my wheelchair around. And I'm saying, oh my God, I got 10 years of this. Jasmine, I cried like a baby. All the toughness and the tough guy came right out of me. I cried like a baby.
But that's the thing. They think men's got to be a tough guy. In times like this, doesn't matter who you are going to break down. It doesn't matter. Like
Correct.
you deserve to break down. Like you can't hold that in. There's just no way.
Correct. So now, the next morning, this is when fitness came into my life, Jasmine. I had no idea. 3 guys entered my cell the next morning. Jasmine, I was so petrified. I said, shit. But they were friends of my dad.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we're here to help you. Jasmine, every single day, they got me down to the prison gym. They trained me. They worked me. I was getting stronger and stronger, using that chair less and less. And who would have thought convicts in prison would have taught me this lesson? Not only my physical health was coming back, Jasmine, my mental health. I did not feel alone at all. Even when I was by myself in my cell, thinking in my head, I was not alone, Jasmine. It felt great.
There's a theory, it's by Karl Marx, and it's about community, right? And if you don't feel like, if you feel alone and not a part of anything, it's going to cause depression. It's going to cause you to do negative things. But if you feel like you're a part of something and you're not alone, it opens the mind to not only get rid of that depression, but it also makes you feel like you're a part of something and you're involved in something and that somebody cares about you, and it makes you it's supposed what realistically what he's saying is if you feel like you're part of a community of some sort, you are going to feel much better about yourself than if you feel alone. So that right there is proof in the pudding, you know?
Without a doubt. And the mental aspect of it, unbelievable, Jasmine. I'll never stop working out. I shouldn't say never, but it's like a natural high to me, Jasmine. I need my medication.
It gives you the endorphins.
I battle depression, and the gym is my medication. So now I get out of jail. Jasmine, I'm getting out after 6 years. I made parole. They gave me $100 and a bus ticket. Have a good day, buddy. Jasmine, in jail, I seen recidivism. People coming in and getting out. A revolving door.
Oh, yeah.
My father taught me, fail to plan, plan to fail. So I seen this. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make a friggin' plan because I'm not coming back to this place. I don't want it, Jasmine.
A lot of people are still institutionalized. Like my daughter's father, he feels more at home being in prison than he does outside of prison. So that's why he does it so much, right?
Correct. It's home for a lot of people, Jasmine. So I called Deb at the halfway house because I want to make a plan. And she says, I've been waiting for this call. I knew you needed help. I'm just waiting for you to ask. Of course, you're not alone. You can come right back here. So, Jasmine, I get out. Do I take a right and go to my hometown with $100 and try to make it? Or do I take a left and go to a halfway house where I'm safe and secure? Thank God I had a clear head, and thank God I took that left, Jasmine. I
Hmm.
got on the bus, I went to Boston, and I went to the halfway house. And it was it.
Smart
So,
choice.
yeah, thank goodness. And this is how the gym came into my life, because I knew I wanted to be involved in fitness. So when I got out of prison, I kept looking for work and looking for work. And finally, Boston Sports Club gave me a chance. I went there to work out, not to interview for a job. I just went to train in the gym.
Hmm.
And I seen the manager. And he was a big guy and he looked intimidating. I said, ooh. So I'm watching, but Jasmine, smile from ear to ear, greeting everybody, very friendly. I said,
Yeah.
oh, I said, I'm going to approach him. So when he was alone, I approached him. And he said, I have a few minutes. He said, we can sit in my office. That few minutes turned into over an hour of talking. I told my whole story. He says, can you start tomorrow? And he hands me the application. I'm filling out, and I get to the part about prison. And I have not told him this part of the story yet. I said, shit. I said, I better go for it. And I told him my story about prison. And he looked at me, he said, can you start tomorrow? I said, didn't you just hear what I said? He said, thank you for being honest with me.
Because most people aren't.
And he said, I just wish my mom was alive to hear you speak to her. Because his mom died a year previous of alcoholism. And he said, I believe if you were able to say a few words to her, she might have not drank that day. And that's when it started. That was my job, and I loved it. So now I'm working there a couple of years now. And my manager, the man who hired me, decided to leave and open up his own gym, a small private gym. And it wasn't long before I got the phone call from him asking me to join him. So I did. And it was a private small gym. And Jasmine, he wanted to leave now. About 6 months, we're together, and he wanted to make it a bigger gym. He wanted to have more people come in. And I already have my clientele. They like working out in private with me, talking and training. So I said, it's going to be tough. But I bought him out, Jasmine. And at that time, after buying him out, I think I had $18 to my name. I lived in my gym. Seriously, the office of the gym was my bedroom. And that's how my gym started. Now I've owned it for 13 years.
Full of blood, sweat, and tears. That's what I would say.
I love it, Jasmine. I love it. And I wrote a book about my story called Triggered to Change, A Life Full of Turbulence. I wrote the book for many reasons, but I'll tell you, one of the reasons is, the first time in my life I told you I seen Deb, I seen somebody do it. I said, she did it, so can I.
And I'm that kind of person too. If I see somebody else do it, I'm like, I can do it too. Like the resilience that I've seen from so many different people, it's the same thing. I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. I just have to push it through.
That's right. So now they can read my book. They can say, she did it. He did it. And so can I. Because I don't care what your challenge is. If it's a challenge, it's a challenge. If you don't drink, you're going to get through it, Jasmine. If you don't drink, if your life isn't going to get peachy if you don't drink.
No.
Your life don't get, but you're going to be able to face it, Jasmine.
Deal with it with a clear mind. That's why
it's unbelievable.
I already know, like with the situation I'm in, if I was to drink, it would just make everything worse. And why do I want to make anything worse for myself? I don't. And because I have that clarity of mind, because I'm not still in the addiction aspect of it, I'm able to say, don't do that because you're just going to make your children's life worse. You're not going to be thinking clearly when decisions do come up, all that kind of stuff. And I like how you said, like, facing your fears, because I just sometimes don't always like to do that due to my
No one
anxiety
does.
issues. But it's having the hard conversations, facing the fears, and not relapsing is where you get through it all.
Oh, unbelievable. And I talk to you a lot about being alone. Jasmine, I walk with a service dog. My Great Dane is 200 pounds. I'm a volunteer for a charity, Service Dog Project. And the proceeds of my book are helping this charity. And the subtitle of my book is A Life Full of Turbulence.
Yeah.
And that's my dog's name, Turbulence.
I love
Jasmine, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I am never alone, Jasmine. Never alone.
And see, that alone part got to me too, because I was an only child and I was alone most of my life, right?
Yeah.
So I get that, being alone. And now that I have children, I get what you're saying. I'm never alone. And sometimes it's stressful because they're kids, but at other times it's really warming and feels safe.
I'm a single dad myself. And it is so rewarding. So rewarding. I'm very fortunate. My son never seen me drink and do drugs. Never seen that. He knows about it. He knows all about my life. I'm very open, but he's never seen it. He sees a hardworking person supporting his family, Jasmine, and that's the reward. To be able to support your family. Oh, I'm not a wealthy man. I'm a worker. I'm at my gym at 6 a.m. I'm a single dad. I only have one income. But Jasmine, it is so rewarding to see my son smile and have a happy life. He just finished his first year of college this year. Yesterday, I felt like I was taking him to kindergarten. Today, he's finishing his first year of college.
That's what scares me. It goes so fast. Mine are 5 and 8, and I blinked and they're 5 and 8.
Oh, unbelievable. And so, Jasmine, I want to thank you for doing this, because I've seen a lot of people relapsing. And after years and years of sobriety, relapse. And Deb always taught me, she said, never forget your story. Always talk about it. So at the beginning, I was doing 3 meetings a day because AA was my life. But AA gave me a life to live, Jasmine. Mm. So obviously I can't do 3 meetings a day, but I can still do things to remind myself of my story, like this podcast. I'm telling my story. I'm not going to forget how bad it was in that parking lot of the police department weighing 300 pounds in a wheelchair. I'm not going to forget how bad that day was. The minute you start forgetting how bad that day was, and it wasn't that bad, I can do it again. Before you know it, you're right back there, and you'll be lucky to get back in the chair where you are. Lucky.
That's like my daughter's father. He is, I don't know what, he is a victim mentality. So it's everybody else's fault why he shoots up fentanyl. But he almost, like, I started this podcast because at Christmas time, he left the ICU. He almost died of pneumonia, but he left against their will. And I'm like, you know what? I want to bring more addiction awareness, because there's so much that goes on with families, with the person who's an addict, with their children, with everything, right? And people just see it. People think it's like you woke up one day and you're like, I want to be an addict and do this and that. No, that's not it. It's life happens. we don't always know how to cope, and sometimes we don't always know how to make the right choice. And that's where it leads us until we find somebody that can guide us. And like, even with me, where you said with a relapse, like a friend of mine drank 2 beers. So I took him to a Celebrate Recovery meeting on Monday because he was hating himself for it. And I'm like, the hating yourself for it's just going to breed it happening and happening and happening. So let's go to a meeting. So that's what we did instead.
Jasmine, relapsing an overdose is so close to me. I'm going to tell you a story. I've had two brothers die of overdoses. My youngest brother died of a fentanyl overdose. My older brother died of a heroin overdose. Now, I was in prison, and my mom had been telling me that my older brother had relapsed. You know, he was sober for like 5 years, and he relapsed. And I'm in jail. And I remember I'm talking to him on the phone, and I'm talking to him, and I have connections from the halfway house, dad, but I can get him help.
Mm-hmm.
I said, George, please let me get you help. I can get you into a detox right now. He said, oh, maybe tomorrow, maybe I have a lot of stuff to do. This is the last time I ever talked to him, Jasmine.
I'm sorry.
Jasmine, he went home that night, stuck needles in his arm, and never took it out. It was on Jasmine. It was on Mother's Day. How do you want to be a mom getting a phone call saying your baby boy just died?
I can't even, because like, even like what they says, my ex's mother, she tries so hard to get him sober, and that phone call, even as a mother myself, but just putting myself in like the shoes of a mom who has an addicted child that sticks needles in their arms, like that's just going to make Mother's Day be the worst day of your life for the rest of your life.
Jasmine, what recovery platform you have here? I can see you benefiting from this. It's unbelievable. I can see you talking and getting stuff out of your story. You remembering where you were from. And that's going to keep you sober, Jasmine.
That's what does keep me sober. Knowing what I've done, and a lot of things too is my father did not like my drinking, and he went through horrible, horrible, horrible cancer. He was not, his doctor wasn't giving him prostate exams. So for 5 years, he had a tumor the size of a grapefruit in his prostate. It
Oh,
metastasized all over his body, in his brain,
oh,
everything. He had septic shock for 3 months. Then he passed away about 6 months later, but he didn't like my drinking. So when he passed, I decided that I wasn't going to drink anymore because my dad meant that much to me that
wow, that's
out of
great.
pure respect, I refuse to do it because I don't want to let him down. Even if he's not still here, I just don't want to let him down. And I know the negativity that it brings me in my own life, and I know I don't want to go back to that. Plus, with the opiates, I go to a methadone clinic. I've been sober off them for 5 years, but I still, to hold accountability, go to the methadone clinic once every 2 weeks, see my therapist, see my doctor. I
Good
also
for
go to
you.
Celebrate Recovery. So I try my best to, when I
Good
have
for you.
time, because when you have kids that are little, you can't always make these things, but I try my best. And I
That's
have a
it.
friend that is in similar recovery as me that my mom rents a granny suite from. So we hold each other up in bad times, right? And that is like how I used to do with that woman. Like, I have him. He was the one that got me to stop drinking. He just, I've known him since I was 5, and we both are just on the same path of wanting a better life for our children and for ourselves. And we also don't sugarcoat anything because um the mom and my kid's dad both are still addicts, so we can't sugarcoat anything. So we have to just let them know for age appropriateness what is going on, and we try our best to show them what life is like soberly, So, and like, my daughter doesn't want to live in a box under the YMCA, so she understands, right?
Correct. Yes, correct, Jasmine. And that's what alcohol and drugs do, Jasmine. You put everything else aside. That's your number one goal. Everything else, your daughter sleeping under a box on the bridge, that's a, you don't keep my heroin, that's a problem. That's thing we can deal with that. You don't keep my heroin or my drugs or my alcohol, whatever it is, and that's a problem. That's the only problem you have as a drug addict. It's this big. That's it. That's it, Jasmine. Yeah. Yeah. I love sobriety, Jasmine. Love sobriety. And we never give up, Jasmine. Never give up.
You
Life
don't want
is
to go
awesome.
back. Going back to that life is the last thing I ever want to do.
Oh. Stop talking about your story and remembering where you were, and you will go back there, Jasmine.
Well, what I
And
tell
you'll be lucky. You'll be so lucky to get back to where you are. When I was in my halfway house back in 1994, I remember sitting in the room with Deb. And Deb walked in. She says, everybody that wants to stay sober here, raise your hand. The whole room, everybody raise their hand. And she says, now the fact, one of you, the odds at that time, I think, were like 1 out of 34 or something like that.
yeah, what
She
on
says, one of you, if you're lucky, is going to stay sober. One of you. Jasmine, I go back there. Now, this is 20 years later. And we took a family photograph. Dead, 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 jail.
Yeah.
Jasmine, I was the only one to stay sober out of that class.
Good
in
on
94.
you. Well, that's like with my friend. Him and I are the only ones that are sober. 95% of the people that we hung out with, like in high school and later, dead, addicted, in jail, exactly the same thing. Me and him just chose a different path.
And Jasmine, we're never alone. And the addiction, we might not want to see or hear things, but there are people willing to help us. People willing to help us. All we have to do is see it and ask it and take advantage of it. I mean, seriously, I didn't ask the guys in prison to come help me. I couldn't believe it. They were willing to come in and help me. Yeah, I mean, that feeling of not being alone and people willing to help, it just makes you strong. It makes you want to do it now. You have people pulling for you.
Yeah, and the connections you make in those situations just makes that stronger too.
Exactly. Just like when I wrote this book, Jasmine, it was a way for me to remember, and boy, to remember. Oh, right. It took me to a roller coaster. I was crying one day. My emotions were all over the place, remembering every little detail, and I loved it. It was a great experience for me, Jasmine. And now, the way I got into writing the book and this platform stuff is I did a TED Talk, Jasmine. Now, I own a business, and I don't tell people that are coming in that are checking out my gym, oh, I got shot in the head, I was involved with a crime, I was a drug dealer, I was in jail. But write me a check and join my gym. They went out the door.
Or also the sensationality of it. They'd be like, oh, he's been through all this. He's interesting. That's the sense. You know what I mean?
So I made up a story where I didn't want to lie, but I didn't want to tell them the whole truth.
Yeah.
So I told them I was shot in the head in a hunting accident, which was true. I was shot in the head, and it was a hunting accident. I just didn't tell him I was the one being hunted, Jasmine.
Yeah.
So, but then after a while, I started trusting them, and so my client, I would divulge a little bit of my story each and every time. And after a while, she said, "I just thought you were a guy in an accident. I didn't realize you did all this." She says, "You're going to do a TED Talk." and she had connections to do a TED Talk. So I went, and I had my first interview. I remember walking out of that interview saying, "What the fuck did you get me involved with here? There was no way I could do this."
Oh, I'd love to do a TED Talk. I know so much about addiction and so much about resources. I would love it. I
Oh
just
yeah.
don't know. I just
So
don't know who to get in contact with about it.
if you Google my name, my TED Talk comes right up, and it was a great experience. And that I never did speaking in my life, Jasmine. I was on stage, and I got a standing ovation. I said the response I got from people hearing my story told me that I need to speak it more. I need to tell my story more. So that's what led me into my book. And now my book is leading me to podcasts like you, Jasmine.
Well, my podcast actually led me into being in a documentary and led me into being in somebody's book about addictions and stuff like that. So, through doing my podcast, I've had some opportunities. I'm in talks with doing a television show. So, like I said, I might be in a difficult scenario right now, but I also have good things coming my way. And it's all because I decided to do this podcast because I wanted to show people who addicts really are and how we really do succeed in our own ways, you know?
It's all because you don't use drugs anymore, Jasmine. That's why this is possible. That's why this podcast is great, but would not be happening if you were a drug addict.
Oh God, no. I did. This woman lied to me. She said that it was her husband that was the addict. And then she got on it with me and started yelling at me, saying because I had an opiate addiction, I get to take Suboxone, and she's a meth addict, and meth addicts don't get Suboxone. And started yelling at me, and I'm like, okay, I think you lied to me. We're gonna end this now
A
because
little judgmental there, huh?
but she's smoking meth while she's yelling at me, and I'm like, I'm sober, so I'm not dealing with this. Goodbye.
Hello.
Like, you think I'm
Exactly.
gonna publish this? No.
That's the choice that you have now. You can have that negative stuff out of your life. When you're an addict, you have no choices. You have no choices. Everything's going to come at you. Negative, everything's going to be involved with you. Most of the stuff that's going to happen to you when you're using drugs is going to be negative. There's not going to be too many positive things that happen to a drug addict.
Nope. No, there is not.
The most positive thing that happened to me was being arrested. That was the most positive thing that happened to me. And it saved my life, Jasmine.
My
Saved it.
husband overdosing saved my life because I seeing his body pretty much dead on the floor snapped me out of it. I mean, I had friends who died, but I never seen their bodies or anything, so I'd never really seen anybody like that before. So it really just stuck in my head when the police are like, "We can't leave because this is going to be a crime scene because he's not going to make it," and all that emotional stuff going through my mind. I'm like, "All right, well, this is something I got to stop." I weighed 70 pounds from doing drugs. I was malnourished. I probably was going to die if I didn't. I had to drink high calorie ensures just to gain the weight back. Like, it was not a place I ever want to be again. No, no, no.
That's right, Jasmine.
That's the thing about learning from you can either learn from your mistakes or you don't. And when you don't is when the
Pay the
bad stuff,
price.
you stay in that depression, you stay in that trauma,
Pay
you
the
stay
you
in that
pay the
addiction.
price.
Yep. It's a cycle that never ends.
It's never. It's a horrible cycle. You know,
Hmm.
you lived it. You know it.
I'm like, I've been to hell. I've already seen what it looks like. I don't want to go back.
So, so you can see my book. When
Yeah.
you talk about hell, that's what made me design my book. You see how the man is pushing the ball up the hill, coming
Yeah.
out of the fire, coming out of hell.
Yeah,
That's
because
why
I'm always like the
I made
phoenix
it out of hell,
rising out
Jasmine.
of the ashes, right?
I made it out of hell, kid. And it was hell. To be in that wheelchair was in prison.
I can
I was in a
imagine.
coma. I was in prison. And that wheelchair was as bad as both of them put together. It was horrible. Yeah, it was horrible, Jasmine.
Oh, I
But I
could
made
imagine.
it. I made it, buddy.
But that's the best part, right? So, with your gym, do you just have one location or do you have more than one location at this point?
No, I have one location. But I keep it private and
Mm,
small on purpose, Jasmine.
I get it.
I don't want to get bigger in my. The gym is about me. I love what I do. I love training people. Jasmine.
And you can connect with
I hear daily
industry.
how I changed your life. Daily, I'll hear how I impacted somebody's life. Daily, Jasmine. I shouldn't say this, but I don't even feel like I work. When I get to my gym at 6 in the morning, I can't wait to be with my client and train them. Can't wait. I love coming to my gym. Love it.
And what's the name?
The name of my gym is Titanium Health and Fitness.
Okay, perfect. Just because I'm asking, just because I'm thinking of editing, right? Because I'm going to steal that picture and I'm going to steal a picture from your gym just so that people can kind of see what you do. You know what I mean? And add your website and the links and stuff. But I think that people will resonate with what you're saying and definitely A, want to read this book, and B, maybe even just want to speak to you about um themselves feeling better or even wanting to be trained by somebody that they resonate with, and not somebody that they feel like inferior to.
Awesome. Yes, exactly. My clients feel so safe and secure in my gym. They walk in, it's their gym. They put the music on that they want, their playlist, and we have a great workout. It's one-on-one. And I train couples too, like a husband and wife, and or husband daughter, husband son. Jasmine, I love that. I love training the husband and wife. I can be quiet and I just watch them give each other the positive aspect of being
Hmm.
together. And I'm like, wow. And just this morning, my client, she says to me, she says, me and my husband, we tried cooking classes. We tried tango lessons. We tried everything. And this is awesome. We're
Because
both doing something
together.
great for our life, and we get to spend an hour together that we wouldn't spend. Those 3 hours, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they spend that hour in the morning. Those are 3 hours during the week they would never spend with each other. Never. Now I mean, that's awesome.
It really is, and it also teaches them how to work together towards a mutual goal instead of cooking
Correct.
class, right? So it's something that also betters and strengthens their relationship and communication, right?
Yes.
Even that is something that's important. I know from being in a relationship with somebody who doesn't communicate very well. Well, being in a situation where you have to work together, you have to communicate with me. And that helps a lot of people who have communication issues, along with all kinds of other things, right? And being able to lean on each other. Like, I love that aspect of it. Just people being able to learn how to lean on each other, even if it's father and daughter, and maybe they aren't always getting along the best. Well, now they come here, they've got to learn how to use each other for
Correct.
success, right?
Correct. Yes. It builds a great relationship. I see their relationships get better. It's unbelievable.
Well, I love it. And like with your book, do you talk about the gym at all, or is it just your
Oh
story of
no, I talk
sobriety?
about it, Jim. I
Yeah.
talk about everything. Yeah. My book is only 60 pages. I didn't want to hire a ghostwriter or a
Yeah.
ghost author or whatever. I want it to come from me. My
Well,
word.
yeah, because it's
I'm
your
not an author.
soul.
I'm not, Jasmine, like I see in the book, I dropped out of high school in the 11th, and I didn't pay attention to for the previous 10. So Lord knows I'm no scholar, Jasmine, but I want it to come from me.
It's
So
your raw, true emotion that nobody
but
else
it's 60.
can get.
It's meant to be a one read. You read through it. It's 60 pages, and it really is a good story, guys.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be reading it. I usually read anybody who comes on. I usually read their books because a lot of them are just very inspiring because like I said, you don't feel alone and when you're in a dark spot. It keeps you going and reminds you of the strength you
Correct.
have, right?
Never alone, Jasmine.
I love it.
Never alone.
I appreciate it. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Jasmine, your audience, thank you so much for listening to me. Just don't give up. Just don't give up. Can I tell you a quick story about quitting? My father always taught me not to quit. No one likes a quitter. No one likes a crybaby. No one likes a tattletale. So quitting was not my option. So the first time I really felt like I wanted to quit, when I was in my coma, Jasmine, after getting shot, I was in a coma for 90 days, and it was one long dream, my coma. It wasn't like a regular dream. It was vivid, detailed, everything. I remember it vividly in my mind. Now, the moral of this dream, every day, I was in a hospital inside this dream, and every day we had a swimming race. And the winner of this race got to go home. And it hurt so bad to get up and get into the pool. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I had no idea who the people were. But I remember saying, I quit. That's it. I'm not swimming no more. I quit. That night, an old man, who I have no idea who it was, sat down on my bed and he said, "You're not going to quit. I'm going to coach you. You're not alone. And then I'm going to get through this." Jasmine, for days, you would take me down to the pool. You train me. Now it's the day of the big race. And he gets me in the pool, and he's coaching me, cheering me. I remember swimming and seeing him cheer me. Jasmine, I hit the wall, and I woke up.
The weird thing is that how vivid that is for you, because my dad, when he was in a 3-month drug-induced coma because he had septic shock, he didn't remember anything. So that's telling you something right there. That's life telling you what you need to do, like, because most people don't have it so vivid. So that's such a intervention of life,
Unbelievable. And thank God I didn't quit. Jasmine, thank goodness. I hit that wall and I woke up. It was unbelievable. And that dream, I don't know if it was a minute dream but it felt like a whole life. It was day after day. It was vivid. I can remember the smells. I can remember the people. I can remember everything about the dream. It was crazy. And Jasmine, I'll never forget it. I tell myself that dream many times. I'll never forget that one. I love talking. I love telling my story because I know it helps me, Jasmine. And if it helps somebody else, great. But I know it's helping me. I know my son isn't going to see me drinking today because of this. Because of this, Jasmine. Thank you.
Well, I agree because like it's been 3 weeks and my children haven't seen me take a drink or do anything that would be negative as of what I maybe have seen as a child through struggles and stuff. And that's the same thing. I is the most important pivotal part to me is that they don't see that because like you, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give in. I'm just going to keep going the way that I can and ask for help where I can, you know?
That's right. Because you have control now. Have a drink, Jasmine. You won't have control anymore. You won't be able to make choices. That drug is going to make all your choices for you.
And then you have to go through all the guilt afterwards and the shame and the
Oh,
rebuilding your life. It's just terrible.
oh, I've seen some people relapse, and it's so sad,
Hmm.
so sad. And the main reason why is they forget. It's just not that bad no more.
Yeah, you're so right because it's like we have rose-colored glasses. And you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Oh, yes,
Exactly.
it was. It's like it's so you can teleport yourself back to that time and be like, see, it was that
Yeah.
bad. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. I'm definitely going to promote your book and your gym in my links and have some graphics at the end. And yeah, thank you so much for coming and
Jasmine, thank you so much. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
thank you so much. You've given me a little extra oomph that I kind of needed today. So thank
All
you.
right, buddy. That's the goal.
Well, I appreciate it, honestly.
Awesome, Jasmine. You listen, you have a great day, and thank you so much.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.